This is Marvel Recap Doctor Doom, Part 3. While Doom has largely managed to resist the weakness of caring for others, the greatest threat to his solitude would turn out to be the child of his greatest enemies, Reed and Sue Richards' brilliant daughter, Valeria. The story of Doom and Valeria began when Sue discovered that her unborn baby was giving off massive amounts of energy, threatening both their lives. With Reed unable to help as he'd been trapped in the super prison The Vault, Sue's brother Johnny went to the only man with the genius to help, Doom. Doom agreed and safely delivered the girl, his only price for helping that he could name the child. He chose Valeria after his longtime love and declared that the baby would always be under his protection. And while that sounds sweet, we should point out that this was only a couple of months before he killed the original Valeria, which turned out to be part of a plan to attack Reed. Because while the baby Valeria was under his protection, her family wasn't, and Doom used his powers to send Valeria's brother, Franklin, to hell. If you haven't caught on by now, Doom is complicated. Despite Doom's various attacks and traps, Reed contacted Doctor Strange, who taught him enough magic to counter Doom's plan and send him to hell in Franklin's place. Doom later managed to escape by holding onto Thor's hammer when it passed through hell during the Ragnarok storyline. And soon, he was back in control of Latveria. Time would pass before Doom and Valeria would encounter each other again, by which time Valeria was now a young girl and a super genius on par with her father. She was also a member of the Future Foundation, a group organized by Reed to train young minds to help shape the future. Doom, however, had lost his intelligence after he was kidnapped by the Intelligentsia, a group of supervillains who schemed to absorb the minds of the world's greatest geniuses. When Doom tried to absorb the mind of Bruce Banner for himself, Banner was able to outsmart him, leaving Doom's brain damaged. Not long before, Reed had been recruited by a group of alternate reality versions of himself known as the Council of Reeds, who worked to improve worlds throughout the multiverse. When they were attacked by the cosmic beings known as the Celestials, Reed left them to return to his universe, leaving the Council to be destroyed. But when Valeria heard about this, she became convinced her father had made a mistake, so she traveled to the one man who could help her, her Uncle Doom. Valeria was able to diagnose his brain damage and made him an offer. She would restore his mind if he would help her save the Council of Reeds. Doom agreed, and Valeria brought him to Latveria, where his ward, Kristoff, was ruling while pretending to be Doom. As Kristoff had been implanted with Doom's memories, the Future Foundation used Kristoff's brain to rebuild Doom's mind. But when Kristoff tried to relinquish the throne, Doom refused, saying that he'd promised Valeria to help her defeat Reed. Doom, along with the Future Foundation kids, Kristoff and Valeria's grandfather, the time-traveling Nathaniel Richards, traveled to the headquarters of the Council of Reeds, only to come face-to-face with the Celestials. Doom offered to sacrifice himself to hold off the Celestials, giving the rest of the team a chance to close the bridge before the Celestials could travel to Earth 616. But before he could, Valeria confessed that she knew that her actions would lead to Doom sacrificing himself for her. Feeling bad for her actions, she told him there was one thing he needed to know, which she whispered in his ear. Doom comforted her, saying that he would not die, for he was Doom, destroyer of worlds. And what gods dare stand against him? But to himself he admitted that, "I am a foolish, prideful man. Perhaps this is the day I pay too high a price for it." That price was his destruction at the hands of the Celestials, as he bought time for the Future Foundation team to escape. But while the world thought him dead, Doom survived. How? The secret Valeria told him was that she had left a gift for him in the Council of Reed's interdimensional headquarters, which turned out to be a pair of infinity gauntlets and an army of lobotomized alternate versions of himself. Everything Doom would need to create a world he could rule. Or, as Doom put it, "Here, I can build." We would discover what that world was like in Fantastic Four number 611. Doom used the gauntlet and his sorcery to create a world of magic, only to discover he had made it in his own image. On his Doom world, Doom's creations, the High Priests of Science and the Professors of Magic, overthrew Doom and imprisoned him. An older, alternate version of Valeria recruited Reed to help Doom, aided by Reed's father, Nathaniel. As Doom and Valeria's recruits worked to escape Doom World, they were seemingly overcome, only to be saved by the legion of brain-damaged Dooms. Afterwards, Valeria and Doom reunited. Valeria tried to make him say thank you to her and Reed, but Doom just gave a curt, "Consider us even, Richards," before they returned to Earth 616. Doom's craving for power has grown steadily over the years, eventually reaching a desire to shape and bend entire worlds to his will. We first saw this need in 1966's Fantastic Four number 57, where he lured the Silver Surfer, who had been exiled to Earth by his master Galactus, to Latveria with a royal invitation. Doom pretended to be a peaceful scholar, only to steal the Surfer's power cosmic. Doom surfed to America, where he used that power to attack the Fantastic Four, until Reed tricked him into the barrier that confined the Surfer to Earth, which stripped Doom of his powers. But Doom had developed a taste for stealing other people's powers, and he would find even greater temptation from the nigh omnipotent cosmic race known as the Beyonders. Doom first encountered one of them during 1984's Secret Wars series, when he was one of the many heroes and villains summoned through time and space by the being known as the Beyonder. The Beyonder constructed a new planet, Battle World, and ordered the assembled beings to slay your enemies so that all your desires shall be yours. While the heroes and villains broke into opposing sides, only Doom tried to stop the conflict, telling the villains that they had a chance to reach out to a being to whom the gods are insects. When they refused, he struck out on his own, seeking to contact the Beyonder himself. To prevent this, Kang shot down Doom's jet. Doom survived thanks to his armor's force field, but was insulted when Captain America offered him a friendly hand, saying, "Doom needs the aid of no man." He rejected the pity he saw in Cap's eyes and declared that they would rue this moment. You, the others, the Beyonder, and the universe. Soon all will grovel at my feet. Doom soon took his revenge on Kang when he ordered the robotic supervillain Ultron to slay him. Later, when Galactus attempted to devour the energies of Battle World, Doom used his technological genius to absorb the power cosmic from Galactus. The power surged through Doom, expanding his senses and his empathy, becoming suddenly aware of every secret desire of Battle World's inhabitants. Armed with his new power, Doom debated his next plan. The Beyonder had asked them to slay everyone on the planet, and he had the power to do so. But what could the Beyonder give him that was not already within his power? And so, he set out to defeat the Beyonder and prove that there was no one greater than Doom. Doom attacked the Beyonder, only to realize that the power cosmic might not be enough to defeat him. But even then, Doom denied his fate, for Victor Von Doom must not die. Just as it seemed that Doom had fallen, the Beyonder analyzed Doom's history and body. Suddenly, Doom returned to the rest of the heroes and villains, declaring that the Beyonder was dead and the supreme being in the universe was Doom. This seemed to be a changed Doom, as he'd used his powers to heal his scarred face, and Professor X used his telepathic powers to confirm that this Doom meant them no harm. In fact, Doom used his new powers to help the supervillain known as the Molecule Man, removing the self-doubt and fear that was blocking him from fully using his powers. Doom summoned the rest of Earth's combatants on Battleworld to his tower, where he declared that he was all-powerful and had nothing to prove to lesser creatures. And while he could not undo all of the evil works of his life without unraveling the fabric of reality, he could set some things right, as he used his powers to bring Kang back to life. Doom confided in Captain America that he planned to use his newfound power to free his mother from her eternal torment. Keep in mind this story took place before he had freed her, as he'd lost all desire for conquest and transcended human desire. Despite Cap reporting this to the rest of the heroes, they still felt they couldn't trust Doom, and so they voted to fight him. Doom used his powers to destroy them. However, the Beyonder had survived, and using the body of the supervillain Claw, he had manipulated Doom into subconsciously reviving the heroes, who renewed their attack on Doom. Despite Doom's best efforts to kill Captain America, he was unable to do so, as his subconscious kept resurrecting him. During the madness, the Beyonder reclaimed his power before returning Doom to his normal, scarred form and sending him back to Earth. With the war over, the heroes and villains of Earth also found their ways back home. During the Secret Wars 2 storyline, the Beyonder would return and create a disco-haired body for himself so he could travel to Earth and learn more about humanity. The Beyonder soon found himself summoned by the magical powers of Doom, who was in the borrowed body of sporting goods salesman Norm MacArthur after his body was destroyed by Terrax. Doom planned to use the Beyonder's powers to restore his original body, only to be quickly overpowered. But before the Beyonder could kill Doom, Reed Richards pleaded for Doom's life. The Beyonder used his powers to create a duplicate of Doom's original body, transferred his mind into it, and sent him back in time, effectively restoring both Doom and MacArthur to normal. But the greatest power that Doom would ever wield came from the Beyonder's people, appropriately known as the Beyonders, or Ivory Kings. Intending to destroy the multiverse as part of a grand experiment, the Beyonders engineered the accident that created the matter-manipulating supervillain Owen Reese, aka the Molecule Man, way back in 1963's Fantastic Four number 20. They duplicated that accident in every other reality. When a Molecule Man's life ended, whatever reality he lived in also died. Becoming aware of the Beyonder's plan while investigating the deaths of universes, Doom and his reality's Molecule Man began traversing the multiverse to kill various Molecule Men in an attempt to foil the Beyonder's plan. However, when they would kill a Molecule Man, his universe would still die, causing the multiverse to contract. This contraction would cause alternate Earths to crash into each other, completely destroying both universes in what became known as incursions. Such an incursion threatened Doom's home reality, Reality 616, in 2013's New Avengers number 6, when the sky over Latveria was suddenly filled with an alternate Earth on a collision course with Earth 616. The secret super alliance, known as the Illuminati, stopped the incursion by destroying the alternate Earth. Doom soon uncovered the truth that his actions across the multiverse were causing the incursions and threatened to destroy every reality in the multiverse. Seeking to stop the Beyonder's plans, Doom set out with Doctor Strange and the Molecule Man to confront them. Their battle caused a massive fire that destroyed hundreds of thousands of realities, leaving less than 24 universes intact. Ultimately, Doom destroyed the Beyonders, stealing their insanely massive power and turning himself into an all-powerful god. However, the incursions continued until only 2 Earths remained. When they collided, Doom used his new powers to create a new world from the remains of numerous realities. battle world. It was ruled by God Emperor Doom, who even used his powers to create a family with a version of Sue Storm as his consort, along with versions of Sue's children, Valeria and Franklin, who saw Doom as their father. He maintained his order through his private guard, the Thor Corps, and his right-hand enforcer, Sheriff Strange. But Doom's rule was soon challenged by the survivors from the Ultimate Universe, Reality 1610, and the main Marvel Universe, Reality 616. And when Strange aided them, Doom murdered him for his disobedience. Doom soon found himself battling a coalition of angry inhabitants, including the mad, death-obsessed Thanos, who Doom quickly dealt with. He encountered more of a challenge from Black Panther, who wielded the power of an infinity gauntlet against him. Meanwhile, Reed Richards and his Reality 1610 counterpart, the Maker, discovered that the Beyonder's power wasn't actually controlled by Doom, but by the Molecule Man. This led to a battle between Reed and Doom, where Reed succeeded in getting Doom to admit that Reed would have done better wielding the powers of a god. Molecule Man revoked Doom's powers and granted them to Reed, who used them to restore Reality 616 before setting off to rebuild the universe. Doom found himself back at his rebuilt castle, with his face restored by Reed, who had also urged him to find a new purpose. Despite this, Doom was unsettled. He'd had everything he'd ever wanted. What would Doom do now? Although Doom's previous campaigns have focused on ruling the universe or remaking it in his image, his latest scheme involved him simply ruling the world. It started in 2024's Blood Hunt miniseries, where an army of vampires conquered the Earth except for Latveria, which Doom managed to protect. When the Avengers tried to stop the vampires, they were forced to retreat when the group, known as the Blood Coven, took down the Asgardian god of thunder, Thor Odinson. The vampire hunter Blade revealed that the threat was the Structure, a vampire cult that used the dark, extra-dimensional energy known as the Dark Force to blot out the sun, enabling vampires to walk freely at all times. And the cult's leader? Blade himself. Well, actually, it was Blade possessed by the spirit of the first of all vampires, Varney. Desperate, Doctor Strange and the interdimensional sorceress Clea turned to Doom for help, who was well aware of the threat of Varney. Doom revealed that in order to stop the Dark Force, they would have to call together a great assemblage of mages, using the students of Strange Academy, Doctor Strange's magical school. Oh, and Doom would also need to be Sorcerer Supreme. Varney's plans were opposed by the undead forces of the Egyptian god Khonshu, led by his champion, Moon Knight. They were soon joined by a resurrected Thor and the Avengers. Strange only agreed to Doom's request to be Sorcerer Supreme on the condition that once the world was saved, Doom would return the title to Strange. Doom gave his word, and Strange bestowed him the title and a piece of his soul. All hail the Sorcerer Supreme. No, all hail Doom. And while Varney was banished from Blade by his daughter, Bloodline, and Miles Morales, Doom was able to cast his spell to repel the Dark Force. Varney was defeated, and the heroes were able to bask in the restored sun. However, once Strange asked Doom to keep his word, Doom pointed out that the promise was to restore Strange's title and powers after he saved the world. But he had only just begun saving the world. And so, he revealed himself to the world as the Earth's new, superior Sorcerer Supreme. And also, Emperor of the World. That revelation brought readers into the One World Under Doom series, which saw the leaders of the world declare Sorcerer Supreme Doom Emperor of the World, turning every nation into a province of a new, united Latveria. Doom outlawed war and instituted both universal healthcare and free education, and swiftly took down anyone who moved against him. A coalition of heroes gathered to work against him, traveling to Latveria to gather proof that Doom was lying to the world about his intentions. While they found nothing, Doom was busy defeating Hydra with the help of Doom Dinosaur. Doom revealed that he'd also killed Baron Zemo and also the Red Skull, a problem that Earth's mightiest heroes had been failing to solve since World War II. But Doom did it in a day, and the world adored him for it. Someone else who adored him was Valeria Richards, who visited him to learn why he was doing this. Doom said the answer was simple. He sought glory. He'd accomplished what others had long said was impossible. His rule was based on one simple truth, that Doom was the only one qualified to unify the world. But while Valeria sought to understand Doom, the Fantastic Four attacked him at a United Nations event, only to find that the assembled delegates were there of their own free will. Doom further proved his superiority by doing the one thing that Reed had failed to do: turn the Fantastic Four's thing, Ben Grimm, back into his human form. With the public increasingly supporting Doom's rule, the heroes were forced to bring in an unconventional group of allies, the supervillain team known as the Masters of Evil. The combined forces of heroes and villains ambushed Doom in Latveria, while their mystical members investigated world leaders for possible mind control. But they quickly discovered that Doom hadn't established his peace through mystical coercion, but through negotiation and leadership. But with Doom focused on ruling the world, he'd neglected his duties as Sorcerer Supreme. And soon, the interdimensional conqueror Dormammu took this opportunity to invade the Earth, leading to an epic battle throughout Manhattan. While Doom seemed to be overwhelmed by Dormammu's forces, he used his mystic amulet, the Eye of Agamotto, and various spells to simulate the powers of the countless foes he'd battled through the years, like the Human Torch's Flame On, and ending with the snikt of Wolverine's claws. Just as it seemed Doom had won, he lost the Eye of Agamotto. Dormammu took the chance to strip him of his armor, shattering his bones before feeding him to his demons. But Doom was not so easily thwarted and returned to the fight. For Doom is not the magic, and Doom is not the name, and Doom never fails. With his last ounce of strength, Doom completed a spell to summon the Avengers to his side. With their help, Doom used his magic to heal himself and banish Dormammu back to his home, the Dark Dimension. Later, while Reed challenged Emperor Doom to a televised debate over his rule, the assembled heroes traveled to Latveria, looking to finally find proof of Doom's deception. As Doom mocked Reed for never actually changing the world to make it better, the heroes discovered that Doom had constructed a magical prison in the heart of Latveria. Inside it, the heroes found the citizens of Latveria, imprisoned by Doom. When Reed revealed this to the world, Doom argued that they were volunteers, loyalists who had asked to sacrifice themselves for the good of everyone else. But Reed was horrified to find that there were children in there, and that Doom was using their life force to power his magic. As the world discovered Doom's secret, the heroes and villains assembled for one last battle against him. Doom found himself facing Reed, who had studied enough magic to replicate Doom's skills, taking the name of the Scientist Supreme. Meanwhile, Valeria used her scientific genius to contact Doom through his armor. And while Doom's physical form continued to fight, he met with Valeria on the astral plane. She pleaded with Doom to stop, but Doom refused, saying that he would ensure that what happened that day would happen forever and could never be changed. Back in the battle, Doom used his powers to remove the X-Men's powers, mimicking what the Scarlet Witch had done on M-Day with the No More Mutants spell. Susan Richards used her powers to bend the energy powers of all the heroes into Beta Ray Bill's hammer Stormbreaker. That's when the Thing returned to wield it, as the Fantastic Four had traveled to the Big Bang to restore him to his Rocky form. But despite the Thing's clobbering, Doom was unharmed. He used his magic to create this moment into a fixed moment in time, ensuring that the heroes could never take this victory from him as he used his mystical armor to impale the heroes. But as he reassembled his armor, gloating as he did so, he saw that there had been one unexpected casualty of his armor's shards: Valeria Richards. Once again, Doom had thwarted himself. Only this time, he'd allowed his ambitions to take the life of the one person he most treasured in the world. Doom tried to revive her, even appealing to the interdimensional beings, the Vishanti, and summoning the living tribunal. Doom offered the tribunal anything it desired if he would revive Valeria. When the tribunal countered that Doom had nothing to offer, Doom demanded to be fully seen. With that, the living tribunal looked into Doom's soul, seeing his rage, guilt, regret, and wild ambition. But he also saw something that no one had seen in Doom before: love. They saw that Doom had truly come for Valeria, not himself, and rewarded him for that. Valeria was reborn, and while she was concerned that there would be a cost for her resurrection, Doom assured her that only he would deal with the consequences. After Valeria returned to her family, Doom visited Reed Richards in his lab to inform his nemesis that Doom was dying. Reed refused to save him as he was unable to forgive him for his actions. But Doom didn't want saving. He'd traded his life, his titles, his planet, and his soul for Valeria. If she was well, that sacrifice was worth it. Doom's final act was to ask Reed to take care of his world as he crumbled to dust. All that was left behind was his mask, and inside all of it was the last will of Victor Von Doom. But is Doom truly gone for good? It seems unlikely, as Doom has always returned before. And the one thing we always know about Doom is that he has a plan. As for Victor Von Doom's debut in the MCU, the countdown to Marvel Studios' Avengers Doomsday is on. Only in theaters, December 18th, 2026. And that is our abridged summary of Dr. Doom. Want to learn more? Sign up for Marvel Unlimited, where you can find all of Doom's decades of history. And if you're curious, here's a list of all the comics we referenced in these videos. This has been Marvel Recap Dr. Doom.